So I'll get started. You can see the chat and you can ask questions here and, introduce yourself just to get us started while we wait for everyone to join.
I love this part. You just see all these things.
Great, yeah. Count the continents.
Exactly.
Oh, we got St. Petersburg.
I saw Beijing.
Nice.
There's Hebei, China.
So, Kelowna.
UAE.
Abu Dhabi, Netherlands.
Jaipur, cool.
Sure, yeah.
Since it's Zoom, can we make up locations to seem more exotic? I'm in Mauritius.
Tell them B21, Anita. Nobody will know where that is.
I'm in the new continent of B21.
No, everything's the honor system these days, right? So.
There's a surprising number of people from Montreal. I guess those are U1s probably primarily.
Mm.
But I found the question, like, are we saying we're from Montreal because we are in Montreal? Because otherwise I wouldn't have said from Montreal, right?
I said that too, Julia, but yeah. Well, I just said where I currently am. Okay, great to see everybody. This is awesome. You know, there's so many, this is the good thing about Zoom. We can meet everybody from all these different places. So we're so happy to have you all. So, we're going to get started in a minute or two, but just wanted to sort of get you oriented with what we are going to be talking about today. So we're going to start with some opening remarks, and I'll introduce all the people who are a part of this panel and who've, worked behind the scenes to make this possible. So the opening remarks we'll start with Kira Smith. She's from Teaching and Learning Services, and Kira is the main organizer of this event. So we have her to thank for all of this. And we'll have welcome messages from David Stevens and myself. So I guess I should have introduced myself. I am Pallavi Sirju Singh, and I am one of the instructors actually for Chem 110. I'm also involved, so I'm in the chemistry department, and I'm also involved with organic chem and with analytical chemistry as well. And then you'll hear from these different instructors. So there'll be a panel discussion with Ken Reagan from physics, Rosalie Belanger from mathematics, Julia Alberini from computer science, Ken Hastings from the Neuro Institute and from the Department of Biology, and Laura Pavelka from the Department of Chemistry. And apart from this, what we will do as well is we are going to do some breakout rooms. I'll tell you more about that when we start to talk about these towards closer to 12 p.m. Is we're going to break out into smaller rooms, and you'll get to interact with all these different instructors, and you'll get an opportunity to ask questions and have answers to those questions as well. But apart from just these panelists, we have a lot of additional support from advisors as well as current McGill students, and people who have done work with coordinating classes as well. So we have Pete Barry, who's a SUSA advisor, and Rebecca Brozo, who's been involved with physics courses. We have Ewan Hutton, who took actually the organic chemistry course online in the summer, and he's going to help you answer questions about what an online experience is like. Nayla and Maddie are both team mentors who are current U3 and U2 students respectively, and Adeline, who's a U1 student who took the summer organic chemistry course which was all online. So this is, these are all the people who are involved, and we're excited to get started. So the first thing we'll start with is Kira will, so I think I should mention this as well, that we will be recording this event. So it's recording right now. This recording will be posted on YouTube and it's accessible to the public. You have no obligation at all to participate via audio or chat, so don't feel obligated in any ways. But we really, really hope that we can make this as interactive. So this is sort of a precursor to when we actually have classes online, and we want students to participate. So let's get started a month early. Okay, great. And I think I'll pass this on now to Kira, who will start with the land acknowledgement.
Awesome, thank you so much. So folks who have been to previous events might recognize this. I'm going to read out the text on the screen. You're welcome to follow along. So McGill University is situated on the traditional territory of the Ginyengehaga, a place which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst nations. We recognize and respect the Ginyengehaga as the traditional custodians of the land and waters on which the university is situated. So just in case you haven't seen a land acknowledgement before, they're pretty common practice at McGill at the beginning of events. And they recognize the ongoing relationship between Indigenous people and traditional territories, as well as our countries, our cities, and our institutions' colonial history. So despite not being on campus today, I think we saw that most of us are pretty much all over the place right now. It's important for us to recognize our relationship with the land that we're on and the way in which McGill has and continues to perpetuate colonialism. So we encourage you during your time at McGill, maybe when you're back on campus, to learn more about our history and connect with the Indigenous community members that are local to us. That's it for me.
Thank you so much, Kira. And we have the Vice Dean from Faculty of Science, David A. Stevens, who will be giving the welcome message next.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. So yeah, I'm Dave Stevens. I'm Vice Dean in the Faculty of Science and Professor in the Department of Mathematics and Statistics. So my discipline is statistics. So we are part of the mathematics department here. As you probably are aware, planning for the remote learning semester in the fall has been continuing extensively and intensively for the last 2 or 3 months at the university. And so our objective is to really have a university that operates on a successful basis for all its participants, in particular the incoming students. So I'd like to welcome you to the faculty on behalf of the Dean of Science and all of the faculty members. So as I said, the planning has been pretty extensive up to this point. Today is another opportunity to interact with various people in the departments and so students that have been parts of courses, mentors that you will be likely to encounter in your time here. You may have seen the My Courses page that we've set up for incoming students as well. Many of the people responsible for constructing that page and that information are on the meeting today. So the other thing I'd say, I guess the last thing is that this is the start of a long journey, and we sincerely hope that it's going to be a successful and enjoyable journey for everybody. So thank you very much for participating today.
Great. Thank you so much, David. Hey, so welcome everyone. We're really excited to have you, and I think I introduced myself already. So next what we're going to do is we're going to have all the instructors from some of the U0 and U1 courses speak about what their plans are for fall 2020. Now, the way we want to organize this is that we'll have the instructors tell you a little bit about what the plans are, and that will be sort of the panel discussion right now. And after that, whatever questions you have, and we also have, we've collected the questions that you sent and that you sent out when you registered for this event. We'll try to go through all those questions as well, but what we will do that is in the setting of the breakout rooms. One thing I'll clarify that the panel discussion, all their slides, all of that will be recorded, but the breakout rooms themselves will not be recorded. So I just want to clarify that right now. Okay, and the way we are envisioning this is for, the first sort of half an hour, 45 minutes, we go through all these different courses and we talk about them in specifics, and then we break out the rooms, and then you have the opportunity to interact with each panel member for about 10 to 15 minutes per panel. So that's sort of the setup that it's going to be. And what you will see is that all these instructors have been working really hard to make the fall semester meaningful and transition as smoothly as we can to the online format. And I can tell you, so Laura Pavelka and we actually taught 2 summer courses. One was Organic 1 and one was Organic 2. And I was extremely, and I think Laura was too, so Laura will agree, we both were extremely nervous, because this is a big change for us. It is a big change for you. It's also a big change for us. But it exceeded my expectations. And I'm not just saying that, it actually truly did. And we sort of want to take that and improve it as much as we can. And I think all these instructors you will see are working really hard towards achieving that. And we want this to start a conversation among you and with us as well, to see how we can, make this as accessible to all the students, wherever you are at. We want to make this as accessible to you as possible. And we also want to make sure that you feel free to interact with us, even though it is all online. So having said that, welcome again. And then we'll start with the panelists. And the first person to speak is Ken Reagan from the physics department.
So hello, everyone. Welcome to McGill, at least some facsimile of McGill online. I teach the U0 physics courses, Physics 101 and Physics 131, slightly different clienteles. And I know there's a lot of U1 students here. I won't directly address them, but I will talk a little bit about Physics 101, and I'll only speak for a few minutes. Collectively, I was asked to kind of preface my comments about my particular course with some general comments, and collectively, clearly, the huge challenge that we're going to have, as Pallavi has alluded to, is moving from the left hand of these 2 images that you see on my slide to the right hand. That is from an in-person, although somewhat impersonal sometimes, lecture theater to a Zoom theater. And I think what you're going to see and what follows in each of the instructors' presentations is that some of our activities are going to be synchronous. That is, they're going to be the equivalent of lectures held at a fixed time, but many activities are going to be moving asynchronous. That is, such that you can do them on your own time, in your own time zone, and don't feel as though you're missing out. And most of our content will be delivered through our learning management system, which is called My Courses. So My Courses is something that you want to familiarize yourself with quite quickly. And I already see a question about mandatory, and so I'm not going to answer every question I see in the chat, but let me just jump in right now to say that I don't know of an instructor who is making synchronous content mandatory. In fact, I believe that would violate McGill's rules. So I think you can be convinced and comfortable with the idea that synchronous activities are present, but not mandatory. And in fact, that's a nice segue into the bottom part of this slide, which is that some of our major areas of focus, as we have developed our courses and moved them from being in person to being online, some of our major areas have been, first of all, equity. And in particular, that students who are not in Montreal or not in the ability to follow synchronous sessions, for instance, must not be disadvantaged. So typically that means that synchronous sessions will be recorded. Those recordings will be posted. They will not be required. Clearly there's an advantage if you can be there, but you will not be disadvantaged and you will not be penalized if you can't be there. We are very concerned about student engagement, fostering a sense of student community. That's a critical thing for U0 students in particular, U1s who are new to campus. Getting to know your colleagues and your cohort is really a critical part of your university years. And this is something that we're going to be working hard on in individual courses and in the university as a whole. And finally, of course, you can imagine that assessment will no longer be large rooms of desks and hundreds of students slaving over paper exams. As we move online, fair and equitable assessment is going to be something that's really critical. that we're working on. So Kira, if I can ask you to advance the slide, and I just have one slide to walk you through the Physics 101 course, which is an Intro to Mechanics. This is a course that most of the people who are in the U0 students who are in the biosciences will probably take. I want to point out that there's a large team. I'm the instructor and the professor, but there will be many TAs and a large army of undergraduate mentors. We sometimes call those team people, TEAM, that's an acronym. But it's a large team then that will be helping us through this course. And what I've listed here are all the components of the courses, and notice that they're asynchronous or synchronous, and some details on the right-hand side. I won't walk through every single thing in this table, but let me point out a few things. The lectures are one of the few synchronous components. They're going to be recorded, as I said, and posted online. We will try to run them in a very interactive way, including breakout rooms that you're going to see later in this session, and TAs and mentors will be present. Lecture notes are online. Textbook I've already decided on the textbook and posted it on my courses. It's a free open access textbook that you're free to download. The assignments will be done asynchronously. Office hours will be synchronous, but at multiple times in an attempt to handle people who are in different time zones. The same thing with tutorials. We will be running labs in an asynchronous way, obviously, and they will be at-home based activities. So you'll do them yourselves, primarily based on sensors that are on your cell phones. So there'll be cell phone experimentation, and you'll submit reports that will be graded. But those will be all on at-home activities that don't require any special equipment. Just things that you can find around the house. And then finally, assessments. And the key thing that I want to point out there is that in comparison to previous years where the assessment was dominated by a midterm and a final exam, which together counted for 70% of the course, we will be moving to many lower stakes assessments. So multiple quizzes, each of which, only count for a few percent. The weighting will actually be selectable by you, the students, within certain parameters so that you can vary it because you're more comfortable with certain activities than with others. But primarily multiple assessments, frequent assessments, low stakes assessments. And the format, again, to the question in the chat that I see appear, the format in 131 will be very similar, not identical, but quite similar. So I will leave it there. There are questions, and we will get to some of those in the breakout rooms, I'm sure.
Great. Thank you so much, Ken. And next we have Rosalie Belanger from the math department.
Yes, hello everyone. It's so good to see you all. My name is Rosalie, as Pallavi just said. I'm the course coordinator for Math 133, which is linear algebra and geometry. And I'll be teaching 2 of the 4 sections. And so there's going to be probably about 1,100 of you, so each section might have about 300 or 250 students each. And that's a lot of you folks. And most students, in fact, taking this class are going to be U0s. So new to university and maybe new to this province or country if you manage to move, or hopefully, you'll get to move here eventually. And so you might not know anyone in this class, even though it's going to be a huge class. And so my mission in Math 133 is not only to teach you math. Okay, maybe I should tell you a little bit about the math before I tell you about my other mission. So linear algebra is actually the best math ever, I think. And you're so lucky to be starting your McGill career with this class. And it's big because linear algebra is so important to so many careers and hence so many programs at McGill. The math is cool, but it's also useful. And it's also going to be probably your first introduction to abstract thinking. And it sounds abstract, right? It sounds maybe not related to real life, but it's actually super applicable because we're going to learn to generalize, to take common features from very different looking situations, and we'll be able to transfer our learning from these different situations. So it's going to be great. But right, so my mission is not just to teach you that math, but also to help you find study partners and maybe friends too. And I have a kind of an agenda here. So yes, I want you to find study partners, not just out of the goodness of my heart, but because math is actually a collaborative endeavor. You might think that math people always work by themselves, alone in an office, with like one single light shining on their paper. those are just stereotypes. That's not true. From undergrads to tenured professors and even before, it's really important to be doing math together. You can try to explain your thinking, your peers can give you feedback on that. They can explain their own thinking, toss around ideas and concepts. That's really good for problem solving, sharing ideas. Those are all excellent ways of learning mathematics. So that's why it's important that you find people to study with. And we'll be using tutorials in this class to help you find study partners. But let me go over my slide and I'll get to tutorials. Okay, so this class, first of all, you're gonna have about 1 hour a week of watching what I'm gonna call conceptual videos. So pre-recorded videos, you can watch them when you want before, at the start of the week, I guess, but in your own time. And they're gonna be focused on the concepts. So the important ideas and definitions that you need to know and the theorems. Although this is not a proofs class, so we're not gonna focus on theorems and quotes, but we'll learn lots of interesting stuff. And then in class time, instead of having 3 hours a week of class time, you'll be watching 1 hour of videos roughly every week. And so we'll have 2 hours of class time. That's gonna be synchronous, not mandatory, but basically you can show up, we'll take questions and answer them about the concept videos, we'll do examples, we'll do lots of problem solving, and it's gonna be great. So that's basically your 3 hours a week of class. We'll have lecture notes and a textbook, everything is online. We'll have weekly quizzes, very low stakes, multiple choice. You can get them over with quickly on your own time again after watching the concept videos. Basically just to make sure that you're on track and you're following along, everything. And then you'll have weekly assignments, which are gonna be more based on problems, going deeply into the concepts, etc. Those are also going to be online and automatically graded, so you'll learn more once you join the class. Now we'll have office hours, and maybe not everybody knows what office hours are actually, so let me just say these are times, synchronous times, when you show up in a Zoom meeting like this one, and you just ask questions about the material, about the assignments, about the quizzes, about whatever, and the staff, we're just here to answer your questions, basically. This is usually my favorite time because I don't have to prepare like for class. I just chill and you ask your questions. It's great. So you should totally show up. And then we'll have these tutorials. And these are going to be synchronous and they're actually going to be mandatory. So I may be one of the very few people who are doing this. They're going to be for a grade. This is to encourage you to show up because this is when you'll be working in small groups, meeting people, solving problems together, and having a teaching assistant alongside to help you along with this and answer questions and lead you through the tutorial. There will be various ways in which you can miss 1 or 2 sessions and your grade won't be affected, and you can also opt out of it if for whatever reason. We'll have an option for that. Okay, so once you sign up for the class, we'll let you know. And then if you do opt out of the tutorials, then other parts of the course will be worth more for your grade. And then we'll have assessments, so 2 midterms and a final exam. And as for Chem, ours will be lower stakes as well because the tutorials and the weekly quizzes and the assignments will be worth more. So overall, I'm looking forward to meeting you all. Maybe not all 1,100 of you, but hopefully many of you, and it's going to be a great fall semester.
Thank you so much, Rosalie. That was great. So next we have Giulia Alberini from the School of Computer Science.
Hello, everyone. I'm muting myself. Thank you. Welcome to McGill. And so I decided to actually add a slide before the slide that talks about my courses. So I'm Giulia. I teach in computer science and I teach Com 202 and Com 250. But since most of the questions that we get from students at the beginning is whether or not they should be taking Com 202 or Com 250 when they are starting, I decided to add this slide just to tell you about which course you should be choosing. And so if you already have a programming experience in any programming language, either Python, Java, C, whatever programming language you have programmed before, if you have already at least 40 hours experience in programming, then you should be probably taking Com 250. If on the other hand, you've never programmed before, then you can take one of our intro courses. And this can be either Com 202, Com 204, or Com 208. And this really depends on which program you're in or what is your interest or whether or not you have certain prerequisites. And so The bottom of this slide over here goes through the different prerequisites that you need to have to take the different courses. I just want to mention that Chem 202 is the course that can be taken by any student at McGill, is the one with the lowest amount of prerequisite, even though the free courses cover the same content in terms of programming. Some of them are more geared toward students that already know biology, for instance, and so their examples will require you to know biology. While Chem 202, it's geared toward everyone, so it doesn't matter what your knowledge that you already have. It only requires CEGEP level math or high school level math. And it can also be taken as a complementary course in the freshman science program. So this is usually the information that students need. You can check out the others. So talking about the two courses that I teach in the next slide. Thank you, Kira. Yes, so I teach Chem 202 and Chem 250. Now you will notice that you will recognize common things between all the courses that we're presenting to you. There is always this idea of low stakes assessment, or this idea of trying to, of course, encourage engagement. So here, what do I want to focus on? So I decided to put the two courses in the same slide because since I'm teaching both of them, when I was thinking about redesigning these courses for the fall, I redesigned them in the same way. So they have the same structures. So that's why you see one slide for both courses. They're both pretty large courses. So in the course composition, you can see that we have 650 to 800 students. This is the enrollment at the moment. And then as you can see, beside the instructor, that is me for both courses, and I have a co-instructor, Jonathan, with me for Chem 202. There are also a lot of TAs and a lot of team mentors. The team mentors are the undergraduates that will be mentoring. The numbers of TAs are often misleading because what really matters, and maybe I shouldn't even be mentioning this here now, but what really matters is the number of hours of TA-ship that they have, right? So maybe you see 10 TAs for one course, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's less support than 20 TAs for another, because it depends how many hours of TA-ship they have. And so I want to mention this because here you see 20 TAs, but TAs in computer science generally have 90 hours TA-ship, while in other departments, they might have 180. So if you see 10, it's equivalent. So just wanted to mention this. For the material of the courses, you don't really need to buy any book. We have reference books for Chem 202, which is free, available online, but we don't read, we follow it, but not like we don't strictly follow the book. So what you need is our lecture slides and our lecture notes, which we will be providing on my courses. We also provide recommended exercises and everything you need to actually practice. As you have already heard from the previous two courses, my idea here is to use some pre-recorded concept videos so that those 3 hours of lectures every week, they become part are pre-recorded videos that we will be posting at the beginning of the week. And this could go 1.5 hours of videos, which you will have to watch. Or 2 hours, depending on the weeks maybe. And then we will have some live lectures when we will focus on activities. And of course, there will be office hours, tutorials, live coding with the instructors, with the TAs, and so on. Now, with this idea that I would like to encourage engagement and promote building up a sense of community, like Rosalie was saying, I would like to break you up into groups. And so you will get to meet other students that are also taking the course, and you will get to work with them throughout the semester. And so you will be meeting at, there will be 3 other students that you will be meeting regularly and with which you will be working, and at least another 15 students that you will be seeing every week and with which you will be sharing your experience. And so this is where this presentation that you see in the assessment comes into place. Because I would like you to work in group, prepare little presentations that then you will be sharing with other students. And here in the assessment, you see that I wrote synchronous. but it's not precise. Like it is, my idea is to have this presentation happen live, synchronous, but of course there will be an option for those of you that cannot make the live classes to have a different type of assessment happening in this case. And we will discuss all this at the beginning of the semester, so you will have all the options available to you. Then, because these are programming courses, there will be programming assignments. These are usually what the students enjoy the most. You will be able to actually build programs that allow you to play little games on your computer, or you know, analyze data. So that's what we will have. There will be weekly quizzes, and this is for us to make sure that you actually watch the recordings, and then we will have a quick quiz before the live lecture so that we know you're prepared for the activities. And the final project, again, programming, and a little bit is gonna be on participation. I've seen the chat going wild, but I have not read anything, so I don't know if any of these questions are for me. But if they are, I'm sure I'll be able to answer them all in our breakout rooms, or maybe a little later in the chat. I think for the moment, this is all I should be saying. What else did I note it down for me? Seems like that's it for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Julia. So next, we have Ken Hastings, who will talk about Biology 200.
Okay. I hope I'm unmuted successfully. Yes, I am. Okay, I can tell from the reaction. Thank you. I'm going to be talking about Biology 200, Molecular Biology, a large introductory course with about 1,000 students, mostly in U1, from a wide range of programs. The teaching team includes 3 instructors, myself and Drs. Tom Bureau and Richard Roy from biology, a course coordinator, 7 graduate student teaching assistants, TAs, as you've heard them called, TAs, teaching assistants, and 12 undergraduate peer mentors. You've also heard a little bit about the peer mentors, the team mentors as they are sometimes called, as Dr. Reagan pointed out. These are students who have taken Biology 200 recently and did very well. And so they have a perspective, the student eye view of what Biology 200 is all about. And so they're a useful resource in many ways. For fall 2020, we've reorganized Biology 200 just as the whole university really has reorganized for 100% remote teaching and learning. And the biggest part of this for us in terms of the way we operate has been that we're adopting the so-called flipped classroom approach. And it wasn't identified as such because that's just educational jargon, but you've already been exposed to this in some of the other courses that were described just now. And in the flipped classroom approach, the main lecture material is not presented during the scheduled class time. Instead, the main lecture material, which some of the other instructors here have called concept videos, the main lecture material is pre-recorded and available to be viewed asynchronously, meaning that students can view the pre-recorded lecture at their convenience. And this is very helpful if you're in a different time zone. The lectures will be recorded, pre-recorded and available on my courses, which you will all know very well, very shortly. It is the front door, the digital learning management system at McGill, and basically your way into all your courses. And so you will all come to learn my courses very, very well. So that takes care of the lectures, or as they're called in the other courses, concept videos. During the class times, we will have synchronous activities. And synchronous meaning that the instructors will be there and the students will be there too at the same time, digitally, yes, digitally, but at the same time, and hence synchronous activities. And the point of these synchronous activities is that the instructor will be there and will lead a session whose aim is to consolidate students' understanding and appreciation of the material that was presented in the pre-recorded lectures. So these synchronous class time activities would include question and answer segments in which the instructors will answer student questions that arise from the pre-recorded lectures. Could be presentation of case studies in which a recent research article illustrating an important principle covered in the lectures, we discussed such an article, or a relevant item in the popular press or on the digital media out there. And in addition, we may have brief interviews with McGill researchers who are working in related areas, so you can get a bit of a view as to what the research practitioners in the areas that we're talking about, what their concerns are. And although these are synchronous, these class time activities are synchronous, they are still recorded, just as this Zoom conference here is being recorded. These synchronous activities are being recorded. So if you can't be there for a time zone or for whatever reason, you can still have access, complete access to the proceedings, and you won't miss any material. Another set of synchronous activities are TA conferences and tutorials. And each week there'll be a range of TA conferences that are scheduled at various times during the 24-hour day so that there'll be maximum accessibility from students in different time zones so that they can participate. And what will happen here is the TAs will cover points, key points that arose from the lecture material from the previous week that was presented by the instructors. And so the material it's a reinforcement of the material and an interpretation live, and live meaning that it's synchronous. The TA is there, the student is there. You can ask questions directly. And because the TA conferences are much smaller groups than the main class, there's much better opportunity for direct interaction of the teacher, who is the TA, with the student. So those are a great opportunity for you to get your individual questions answered directly. The last thing I want to talk about for Biology 200 is what we've done about assessment. And here again, because of the remote teaching learning context, we've had quite an important change, similar to what Professor Reagan mentioned for his physics class, and that is we've broken it down. We used to have important midterm and final exams, high stakes as they're called, final exams. And this year we're not going to be doing that. We're going to be having multiple smaller assessments, so-called small stakes assessments. We're going to have 11 roughly weekly short answer quizzes, which will be done online. And each of those will count as 10% of the final grade. And we'll take, to get the grade, the top 10 scores out of those 11 weekly quizzes. And there will be several advantages and several reasons for taking this small stakes distributed approach to assessment. But one of them is that we will be able to monitor the quality of learning during the course of the term. We'll be getting some basically weekly feedback about how if the students are getting the picture, and this will help us make any adjustments that might be needed in course. So there are one or two smaller details about the course that we are still working on, haven't sorted out, but I think the summary I've given covers the main points. And when we get to the breakout rooms, I'll be happy to answer any specific questions that anyone has. So thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Ken. This is great. That's great. So I think next, actually, I'll just very briefly talk about Gen Chem. So that's the course that I teach. I'm one of the co-instructors for this course, and I also coordinate this course. So we have two total instructors. It's me and Maureen McKegg. And we have one lab coordinator, Mitch Hewitt. We have approximately 25 TAs and approximately 25 team mentors. And all of you. So right now there's about 900 students who are registered. So we're really happy to have you all. And again, these TAs are for both the lab and the lecture component. So, it looks like a lot of number, but it's spread out for the labs and the lectures as well. And, I think there were questions about which textbooks are free, which are not, is it all available? So the textbook for Chem 110 is a recommended textbook. It's not required, but the recommended textbook is actually, there is a cost associated with it. It's not an open source textbook. So, if you have just a general chemistry textbook, that's okay. You can use that, but this is the one that we recommend for the course. And this is the same textbook for Chem 110, which is in the fall semester, and Chem 120, which is in the winter. And I've, sort of outlined the content that we will cover. I don't want to go too much into details of this, but, I'll be happy to answer any specific questions about the content in the breakout rooms. So for the lecture delivery, we will also record concept videos. They'll be posted at the beginning of the week and during the lecture hours. So our contact hours that are scheduled on Minerva, where you see, Leacock 132, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Instead of Leacock 132, we'll be doing it on Zoom. And what we will do during this lecture time is go over the concept video that you watched, answer questions, and we'll have some active activities where we will, work on workbooks, or we will answer questions, and we'll try to do this in like small groups. Apart from this, we will also do synchronous live tutorials. And these may not be recorded, but these are also not mandatory. And we'll give you a lot of flexibility for office hours. So Rosalie mentioned what office hours were. So we'll have a lot of flexibility for office hours so that you can attend and ask questions. We really, really want to encourage participation. I've also had some emails about students who may not have taken chemistry in high school. And this is, this is a long time, it's been a long time since they saw a chemistry course. So I will post some review slides on the My Courses webpage. This will probably open sometime in August. So the chemistry webpage is not open yet. And we will open it sometime in August, and I'll post review material that you can review before the beginning of the semester. The other thing that we usually do, we did it last year and I'm going to do it again this year, is at the beginning, I send out a survey to students, and depending on, who would require some extra help, if you have not taken any chemistry courses in high school and, you're really worried, we try to organize small groups with mentors where you can get one-on-one help. And a lot of team mentors have helped with this. And, it was a really successful sort of group work last year. And we want to continue with that this year as well. And apart from that, we'll also organize small groups so that you can interact with your classmates and with team mentors. I always find it that, anytime I enter a breakout room, students feel a little shy to talk in front of me. So, I'll try to organize in such a way that there is a lot of student-student interaction. But I also want you to feel free asking questions. And we want to encourage you to ask questions and interact, especially in a platform like this. The question we get a lot about is how the assessment is going to be organized. So these are the different assessments. These are the only assessments that you will have. We will have tutorials, which are synchronous, but these are not mandatory. So you can, you have the option of, there's a flexible grade assessment. So you can actually move this grade from the tutorials to something else if you are unable to attend the tutorials. We'll have assignments approximately every 2 weeks. We'll have quizzes that will be on My Courses. And the long form assessments for us will be 3 take-home exams, and how they will be timed and how much time you will have to write them. You'll probably have more of those details towards the beginning of the semester. So we're still trying to figure out the details. This is a little bit more challenging for me and my co-instructor to figure out, but we are very close to having the exact details for this. So there are 3 of these take homes, and then, tentatively it's 35% distributed between these 3 long form take homes. And finally, we also have labs. These are all going to be done online. This is true for Chem 110. It is also true for Chem 120. Okay, so I can tell you that. I think there's some questions about winter, so I can confirm that for you right now. And these online labs will be a mix of, lab simulations and at-home activity, where you will be, you'll be purchasing certain small materials that you can actually set up your own small chemistry Gen Chem lab, and you'll actually be doing activities with help from your TAs, lab instructor, and maybe I'll join in on some of the fun of the labs as well, because I do miss those. So that's it for Gen Chem. And again, I'll answer these questions in detail in the breakout rooms too. Great. So if we could go next. Great. So then we have Laura Pavelka who will talk about Chem 1.
Great, thanks, Pallavi. So yeah, welcome everyone. So if you are entering U1 or U0 but have exceptions for Gen Chem, you'll be entering into organic chemistry, or at least most people will need that as a prereq in a science program. So we do not have a textbook requirement. There's a lot of custom resources that have been made for this class over the last year, not really anticipating we were going remote, but anticipating we were going open access. And so that's a very convenient tool for the time being, and a better tool, I have to say, so that everything is ready and freely accessible to you once we open our My Courses page, which will be very shortly. It's all made by your instructors and TAs, so there's nothing that comes from outside of this course. There's some sort of recommended free resources you can look at for supplementary information that will also be posted in My Courses, but really the main content you'll need is there. And same with Gen Chem. I'm not going to talk about content in a huge amount of detail right now. If anyone has specific questions, I'm happy to take them in the breakout rooms. I also teach the Organic 2 course, so if anyone's coming into U1 taking Chem 234 or 222, we can talk about that in the breakout rooms as well. So I'm just going to focus on 212 right now. So pretty much like the rest of my colleagues here, you can see that there's a bit of a theme across the Faculty of Science in that we're trying to keep our live time with students existing, but very interactive. So we have also concept videos, and this is something that we've tried over the summer course, because we have I guess this is the one course of those that you've talked about that's actually done a remote delivery already. So Pallavi did the Chem 212 course in the summer, and I did the Chem 234 course in the summer. So we have a little bit of experience, with online delivery, with concept videos and then interactive tutorial type lecture time. Although we're trying to sort of steer away from the word lecture time because it's not really a lecture anymore. But you will have, again, pre-recorded concept videos to look at sort of at the beginning of the week. We're going to set aside our, at least Minerva assigned lecture time to be themed office hours, or we can go through some example problems, things like that, and just take any general questions that come. So office hours, as Julia had alluded to, are very informal. This is where you just come with questions, or you can come to listen, or you can come to chat if you just need to talk to somebody because it's Zoom and you're, I think we're all starved for a little bit of just general chat overall. And it's in our lab section times that we're going to be doing our tutorials. So everyone in Chem 212 is signed up for a lab time, and there will be some clarifying messages going out to everyone to solidify exactly how that lab time will be handled, because we're going to split it between our interactive tutorials that will be with your instructors and TAs and support for your lab activities. So I'll talk about the lab activities a little bit later. But we are going to use breakout rooms. We'll do small groups. There will be some problem solving, and students will present some solutions to problems. And it's what we did in the summer, which was fairly, it was well received. Maybe we can leave some of the students that are joining us today to answer those questions in the breakout room about what their experience was like. But as Pallavi said at the very beginning, I think we were very pleasantly surprised with how the remote delivery proceeded this summer, and are optimistic for the fall, even though it's a lot more students to engage. I really think that we've had a huge amount of discussions within ourselves and across the Faculty of Science about how to do this properly and do it well, and make sure that you're getting an equivalent, if not better, experience than an in-person LECOC lecture delivery would provide. So in terms of our assessments, we also have lots of smaller stakes assessments, and there's technically no real exams for the organic courses. We will have weekly quizzes, same with most of our colleagues here, that are just really just to make sure you've seen the concept videos and you have an idea about what's going on. The tutorials will be synchronous, and there will be some presentation and peer assessment. And all of the percentages that are listed here are also flexible. So you can opt out of some of these things or move the weightings around, and that will be available to you at the beginning of September to change those to fit your schedule best and your style of learning best, because we want to be as accessible to the most people as possible. We'll also have something called challenge assignments, which are just like a tutorial follow-up to give you kind of a more difficult problem that you have extra time to work on and submit. And then we will have assignments every 2 weeks, which are kind of taking place of all possible midterms and things like that. So there's long form assignments every 2 weeks. And there will be one larger take-home assessment during final exam period. And then for Org 1, we do have a lab component for the fall, and same thing for the winter. Both will be online lab components for the whole school year. So whether you're taking it in the fall or the winter, the lab component is the same. Any questions about the Org 2 lab component we'll leave to the breakout room if anyone has that, because it's running a little bit differently. But the Org 1 lab component will be completely online. There'll be some take-home activities. There will be some sort of assignments and things like that, some literature review and whatnot. And I think that's all I have to say for now. So I'll hand it back to Pallavi.
Great, thanks so much. So what we are going to do next, so I really first want to thank all the instructors who've taken our time to answer these questions, and also to Kira for organizing this. So I just want to say that out right now before we go into breakout rooms. So what you'll notice right now is that you'll see this small pop-up, which the image is shown at the bottom here, which will give you the sort of the indication of joining a breakout room. So just accept that. You'll be moved to a breakout room, and each breakout room will have an MC support staff. So either, a few students basically to answer questions. And there will be 2 instructors or an instructor and an advisor in each of these breakout rooms. And we'll do this for every 10 minutes. And then every 10 minutes, we're going the 2 panelists, so the instructors or the instructor and advisor, are going to move to the next breakout room and then answer questions there. Okay, so we're going to take on your questions. We already have a list of questions that you filled out in the registration. We'll answer those. And just remember, so the questions that we are trying to answer are more course related or content related, or organizing these particular courses for fall 2020. We may not be able to answer questions about course registration or usual administration questions. If you have some really specific advising questions, there is an email here that you can email to ask these specific questions. If we are able to answer those questions, so Pete Barry, who is the science advisor, if he is able to answer those questions, he'll try to answer those questions as well. But that is the point of this discussion, is to really talk about the courses that we'll be teaching in the fall. Okay, great. So, Kira, do your thing, and let's go to our breakout rooms, and I'll see you all shortly. So especially the instructors, the support staff, and all the students who came here to answer questions, and the Vice Dean who gave us this welcome message to the students, and Kira for organizing all of this, and the breakout rooms worked really well. So I just want to thank you all for joining us. This is a great first step. The fact that you actually attended this and asked questions, this was great, and we encourage you all to do this during the classes and during the semester as well. We'll also stick around here for about 10 or so minutes. And if you have any other questions for us, just feel free to post them and we'll answer them as well. Thanks again, everybody. It was great to see you. And we are all looking forward to fall 2020.
Definitely.